Okay, I'm going to try and make this video as quickly as possible. Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. So, the Western narrative will always say Islam was spread by the sword. Islam cannot really spread really because it's unethical. People really wouldn't want to accept Islam. Islam is very backwards in its theory, and the only way Islam spreads, it's because of the sword, right? Muslim empires went to certain countries and forced Islam by the sword, right? Now, I'm of the opinion that if a non-Muslim country is hostile against Islam and they're not allowing Islam to reach to the people, it's duty of Muslims not to go out and start bombing marketplaces. No, that's unethical. It's against Islam. But if it's an empire, it's military use, and it's about expansionism, you can go there and war with them. Muslims, some modern Muslims, a lot of modern Muslims actually, have criticized Islamic expansionism, right? When it's actually part of Islam, but they like to do taqiyya to deny this. And of course, there are Westerners out there who are hypocritical and say, oh no, this is unjustified, it's intolerable, and things like that. But I'm going to show you in the comments now. I'm going to show you right now. You're going to see the comments for yourself. That when Iraq was invaded, right, and Western ideals were brought into Iraq, this was actually justified, part of liberal secular expansionism. This was justified. Because why? It brought people out of oppression, according to them. It brought justice, and it brought Western culture into the Muslim world. So this sort of expansionism is justified. Let's listen. This is a comment by Binyam Keleta. And by the way, I think this person could be a non-Muslim. I'm not 100% sure. But from the looks of it, it's probably a non-Muslim. Again, I'm not really judging. I'm just looking. That's why I'm saying probably. I'm not saying it is, she is for sure. But look at the comments she receives below. She says, the world would have been a better place if this invasion and colonialism didn't happen. She's referring to Iraq. And look what one comment said. Andy Dyke says, the people in this video weren't allowed to have cell phones, satellite TVs, or internet before the invasion. So basically what he's saying is the invasion was justified. Killing 500,000 Iraqis and bombing those people and killing so many people was justified because it brought cell phones, satellite TV, and internet before the invasion. Now, this is ludicrous, as if people in Iraq didn't have cell phones, as if people didn't have satellite TV, as if they didn't have internet before the invasion. Of course they did. Even the most hostile nations, such as, the people like Iran, for example. Iran's got those things too. But this is their way of justifying colonial invasion. Here's another comment from Tom Nope. Tom Nope says, if it didn't happen, this video wouldn't be possible. Meaning that in this video, there are certain things in this video, and you can see the video where I've actually responded to the video. They're trying to westernize Iraq, and they're basically saying that, partying wouldn't happen in Iraq. Men and women can't jump in the same car if it wasn't for the invasion. Women wouldn't be able to take selfies. Women wouldn't be able to uncover themselves if it wasn't for the invasion. So basically they're saying that the invasion was justified because now those people accept our values. Now imagine, folks, imagine this for a moment. I turned around and I said, suppose America became a Sharia country. Suppose Israel became a Sharia country. Suppose I said, look, the invasion of Iraq, the invasion of Israel is completely justified Because look, now the people have become Muslim. Now the people have accepted Islamic tradition and culture. Now you see people walking around wearing a burqa and a niqab. You see all of these wonderful mosques, and you see no churches anymore. You see that the churches have converted into mosques, masajids. And then I said, look, if it wasn't for the invasion, then none of this would have happened. So now I started justifying the invasion. Imagine how much I would have been heckled. Imagine how much I would have been heckled, saying how intolerable, how dare you force your Islamism into our country and then justify it. You'd say that is a form of oppression. So on one end, these Westerners want to remove oppression, such as, men and women don't have intermingling together in the same university. Movies and Hollywood don't exist in the Muslim world, and provocation does not exist, and naked beaches do not exist, and alcohol doesn't exist in those Muslim countries. So therefore we need to bring our Westernism into that country. So on one hand, they say there's oppression in that country because it doesn't allow certain things. And then they oppress Muslims in those countries by killing them so that country can run on secular liberal values. So they take the human rights of these majority Muslims who want to be governed by Islamic law, they remove that under the freedom of Western freedom, so that they oppress one group in order to favor another group. Don't get me wrong, folks. I believe in expansionism. I believe that Fatih Sultan Mehmet conquered Turkey and converted Hagia Sophia into a mosque. Yes, it was a Christian church. That country was Christian. It was invaded by the Muslims, and we are non-apologetic about it. But see, we're not hypocrites. I believe in expansionism. I believe in invasion. If that country is hostile from accepting Islam, and those people are being denied from Islam, and Islam is not reaching those people because the kings of the time were very hostile towards Islam, and they were keeping Islam away from the masses and away from the Muslims, the general population who are non-Muslim and Christian, and they were hostile against Islam at the time. And you got to understand that back in those times too, especially, there wasn't internet. There was no media. You can't just say, Muslims could have opened up Islamic channels in Greco-Roman time and played it. There was no TV. You couldn't just send the internet there. There was no internet. You can't get through to the people there. You can't. All you can do is write a letter, and the letter takes months to get there to accept Islam, and this is what Islam is. You can send a copy of the Quran, but of course the copy of the Quran, it's not going to reach the masses. We don't have, printing stores like we do now, printing factories. We don't have that. So back then, it was very necessary, probably not much so now, but it was very necessary at that time to conquer another land to spread the message of Islam, because people were hostile, they were keeping that away. And it was incumbent to do so, because if the kings at the time were keeping Islam away from the people, then they are creating the real terrorism, because keeping Islam away from the people, those people are ending up in hellfire. Those people are going to hellfire if Islam is not reaching them. You may say, brother, but doesn't Islam teach that if the message hasn't reached them, then they won't be judged because Islam has to reach them? Hang on a minute. We're not talking about atheists here, or we're not really talking about the stone worshippers. We're talking about the Christians here. The Christians who accepted the message of Jesus, but later on that message was perverted and they followed their rabbis in this, and so they committed shirk. And so Islam had to come there, obviously, to help guide these people back to the true monotheistic teachings of Jesus, right? And so they're preventing this. And if they died upon that state, even if Islam doesn't reach them, Islam has already reached them through the Injil, the gospel, right? And so if they die upon the shirk, then they can be judged. They can be heavily, heavily judged for that, right? And so it was very necessary for Islam to come there to correct them and bring them back to the true message of Jesus Christ. So the point of this video was to clearly show that the Westerners believe that. Believe it. They believe in expansionism. They believe in human rights. They believe that if human rights does not prevail, if Westernism does not prevail, they will do any means. They will support any military power to invade that country, to bring justice to that country. This is what they believe. They believe in this, and they will do anything to support the murder and the killing of a particular leader. If he's tyrannical and not allowing Westernism to come into that country, they'll depict him as a dictator, a tyrant that needs to be removed. That's why they supported these same people who are against capital punishment. They were promoting. They were never against Saddam Hussein being hanged. They were never, you go and speak to them, oh, we're such humanitarians, we don't believe in capital punishment, I'm a vegan, I care about animals. None of them protested when Saddam Hussein was being hanged. Because why? They said, this is the greater good. When Saddam is gone, we can now save the Iraqi people. We can bring in Westernism into that country, right? So it's the greater good, right? We got to pick the better of the two evils, right? So, okay, we'll pick the better of the two evils. Let's get rid of all the Islamophobes in politics. Let's get rid of them. Let's invade the non-Muslims, right? Because the greater good, we've got to pick the better of the two evils, right? We got to invade and we got to get rid of the Westerners because they're keeping Islam away from the people. In Australia, for example, they hardly play any Islamic videos on national TV. We got to invade them. We've got to invade them, and now once we take them out of power and we rule this country by Sharia law, we can have mainstream TV televising Islam to the rest of the Australian public. It's going to reach many people. It's going to save many people from going to Jahannam. So what? So my invasion is now justified. Don't blame me. I'm using their same rhetoric in reverse. Don't get angry. Don't say I'm intolerable because I'm using the same argument you're using. Right? Your objective is to save humankind, to bring them to all the luxuries of all those fantastic ideals you live by, to dress the way you want, because you care about human values. Well, I care about human values too. I don't want people to go to hellfire. I believe in the Day of Judgment. I believe that if people are kept away from Islam, they're going to go to hellfire, for goodness sake. We've got to protect these people. We've got to bring Islam to them, right? Now, you may say it's intolerable. Again, you won't argue that on the Day of Judgment. When you see the truth, when you see hellfire in heaven, you'll say, my goodness, I wish you invaded every nation, right? I wish you invaded France and Great Britain. I wish you invaded Italy and Russia. I wish you invaded America and Israel. You would say that. You'd say, I wish Islam came here by force and forced us into Islam, right? Because now look, if you didn't, my mother wouldn't be a Muslim. My child wouldn't be a Muslim. My son wouldn't be a Muslim. My offspring, they would not be Muslim. We'd all be kafir. And now we are saved. Look, Allah has given us paradise. Look, thank you for that Khalifate, for coming and invading us. Like, this is the most biggest blessing Allah could do, right? You would. On the day of judgment, you would. You'd be complaining here on the earth saying, these invaders, these barbarians, they're coming to kill us. They're bringing Islam by force. But on the day of judgment, when you see the benefit, you'll say, my goodness, I was arguing against Sharia. I was arguing against expansionism when I was really doing it myself, trying to do liberal expansionism into the Muslim world. But now I see the truth. I see the day of judgment. I see heaven and hell. I see God. I see the truth. Now, I don't care if you say, oh, well, I don't believe it exists. I don't believe the day of judgment is real. I don't believe in God. That's just your imaginary fiction. That's besides the point. What if it is real? What if it is the truth? Then you won't have anything to complain about, would you?